Guess what? Today's another adventure into reality. I am today joined by Monty and Melissa. Today's show is going to be... Did I get your name wrong?
No.
I'm sorry. Monty and Melissa, we are going to be talking about the healing power of laughter. And look at that. No one's raised their hand. Oh my. My audience is learning. Yay! Congratulations. Audience is learning. And for all those audience members who are learning, raise your hand. All right, guys, welcome to the show. Melissa and Monty, give a quick introduction to yourself.
I was on 2 weeks ago, and you've brought me back. Do I owe you money?
There you go.
Yes, yeah. All those people who don't know who.
Maybe we should introduce each other.
No. Yeah, Monty Dean. I've got a podcast, deal with comedy, and I make Andrew laugh. So, win, really. And Melissa's my friend.
He's got a very unique show called The Monty Dean Show.
It took me hours to come up with that.
I'm Melissa Hocking-Hughes. I'm a healer. I work all over the world in every muddy place and city and hospital you can imagine. And Mont and I are siblings from many, many lifetimes, I would imagine. In this lifetime, technically, biologically, we're not, but in every other element, we are.
Yeah. So you've given each other a psychic wedgie for many lifetimes in a row.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's very
atomic level.
Yeah,
yes.
It's part of my no plan.
Atomic wedgie.
Take that, astral.
Yes,
Take that, astral self. Yes.
Multi-dimensional astral thrust. That one.
Yeah. I actually tell people when they're confronting their demons that humiliating was one of the best way. And I'm like, when you give a demon a wedgie and get joy out of it, watch how fast they shrink away from you. And it takes courage to give a demon a wedgie. It really, really does. Once you break their fear, even if it's a self-created demon, even the ones deep inside you created in yourself, and you're like, no, I'm flipping the frequency on this. That's where joy, power of laughter, even if it's some dark laughter, because dark laughter has a big reveal to it that allows us to explore areas that maybe the light workers stick up our ass won't let us do.
Yeah. Ridicule, when dictators get in control, they usually get the intellectuals and the cabaret, and especially like in Germany, 1932, they took down a lot of stand-up comics because they're expressing themselves and making fun of the hierarchy, and they don't like that. I'm just going to let my cat out.
I'll stay here. It's okay. No, I actually agree, Andrew. What we tend to find when I'm teaching around the world and everything, one of the first things I'll say about fear is the minute you acknowledge you're afraid, 95% of it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you step into it.
Unless it's an ingrained fear from paranoia that's decades old. And we're talking, you gotta peel it off like wet sheets. Okay?
Well, let me ask you something on that topic. Paranoia, particularly, is that karmic?
No. It's self-created, and it becomes karmically entangled to the things you're paranoid about.
Okay.
So you may not start off with lots of karma in the life, but get paranoid, and you will make karmas for it to be.
Yeah, build them.
Or you might have
the next lifetime.
You might have lots of karma, but no paranoia. And then there are some people that smoke cannabis and get suddenly paranoid. Why? Because they're aware.
Mm.
And once you become aware of things that you can overwhelm you, paranoia can allow us to fill in the blanks, which our mind's great at. Filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing the crap we say to ourselves, isn't it?
Right. That's why 95% of all negative demons are self-created by you this lifetime.
And that's the power of, because we're created gods, and because we don't know, we fill it in the holes. And the way that society is very negative, it's like, well, clearly it's because I'm fat, and then, or whatever, and you can't laugh at it, basically. Well, you can, but I hate being around paranoid people. I've seen comedians like, are there any paranoids in the audience? Why?
Exactly. For all those paranoid people in the audience, Big Brother is watching you tonight.
So yeah, I actually did that. It was someone did say like, why?
Oh, Amy likes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw the little notice in the chat room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to
He's
talk
single,
about.
Amy.
I also live here.
Yeah, that's all right.
Talk about the true chemical power and energetic power of laughter. I have said many times, you could go to healer after healer after healer and have nothing happen, and in one laughing moment shed off 1,000 years of trauma.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. Do you know, one of the criticisms I get, Andrew, when I'm teaching is that there'll always be people, they're never brave enough to come to me. They'll go to my staff and actually say to the staff, God, she's laughing all the time. She doesn't take this seriously. I take my work incredibly serious, but God, I don't take myself that way. So, I mean, but one of the first things that I do, and Monty knows this, I actually use Monty. He comes into my courses around the world, because the minute I have people laughing, they can learn and engage so much more. It's like you're saying about, you smoke a joint and suddenly the filters are down and you can learn and hear and listen and things are open. Same with laughter. I'm sure it's a similar chemistry.
Mm-hmm. When you laugh, what's the chemical release? It's endorphins, is it?
It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah. So what happens multidimensionally then?
So first thing first, you have a series of chemical release and a series of hormone release. It all depends. Like if it's a slow that just doesn't go away, that's a chemical release that just keeps going and going. And then there's the acetylcholine, a pleasure center. Then there's the dopamine release, and then there's the full-on, heart energy dumping into it too, because you've broken some kind of energetic barrier. Mm-hmm. And being able to see energy, and I get on stage very frequently, and a lot of times I will, in a super serious moment, say something really funny. Or example, one of the last live events that I had a potted plant that was an orchid behind me, and I named it Bob. And I basically, can anyone tell
Bob? I miss Bob.
Yes, Robert was there. He knows Bob.
Bob.
So I put a $20 bill on Bob, and I said, if you can make Bob laugh, you get that $20 bill. You got to get the best light worker joke. So after this super serious, long meditation event, there's people trying to come up with light worker jokes.
Yeah, we've done that a couple of times, and it's quite fun. Like last time, Palladian's delivering pizza.
That's right. I've heard
what it did, it allowed people to sink in what they had just heard. And it didn't zero it out. It opened up a new way to accept that form of teaching as something that's relevant for you going forward long periods of your life. Now, that is a technique. What it really did, it brought that hearty, deep felt laughter. Now, watching people go through these different states of laughter, some people falling out of their chair, now, when I see that, that's this bright, intense, almost like neon white light shooting through their auric field, making a web, meaning all of their energy centers are full on open and moving energy. Then you got these other people. It's a very red, laughing, infrared energy because it's activated some part of them that hasn't been active in a long time. Like
triggered.
You got the ass person that suddenly can't help but laugh at the joke. And then there are other people who have what I call spirit laughter. Their spirit has been so serious, it's trying to get through the human for so long, and finally there's an external source that says something, and the serious part of the soul lets down, and there's this avalanche of laughter coming out of that person. Now, we've all had laughter that makes our side split and hurt, and we can't stop. Okay.
Well, it's going to, and a bit of wee comes out. I'm wondering, but at the other end, what happens when you cry from laughter? Is that actually a transmutation of the energy at the same time, or because you can see people they're laughing so much they've got tears.
Yes, because it's an emotional release that is actually dissolving an emotional block in them.
Mm.
But they've actually done studies to show the chemistry in the tears released when laughing is releasing actual stress chemicals. Yes. It's actually exiting the stress from the system.
Yeah, actually.
Such power wheel.
Then there's the people that the tears are flowing down their eyes, they're laughing their ass off, but what that's doing is they're at a very high breathing thing, and once they start those tears going, there's an emotional block that's being dissolved at that time. Probably something that's before they had memories, when they were still at a young age, and they were probably still trying to figure out what laughter was. Like,
Look, I'm just going to cut in a little bit, Andrew. I'm loving your chat room. You've got an awesome group of people that come in on your show.
Well-educated people too.
Yeah, Joyce is terrific. She was mentioning how Bob likes his name to be spelt backwards. So
yes.
It's pronounced boob.
Bob is a palindrome. You can use Bob both ways.
You've got a great group. It's lovely to meet you guys, by the way.
So the great healing power of laughter. Now, I do a form of craniosacral therapy that's a mix of the Nelson method and the Upledger system. And I've had many people on the table that have had full-on somatic emotional teary releases, and the ones that just start laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And everything in between, laughing and tears at the same time. And laughter is one of those most ingrained things in us. Example, why do all children, little babies, laugh at their farts?
I still do.
Okay. Laugh at their farts.
Yeah.
It's a release and an emotional and an etheric release until they smell it, and then wah!
Well, someone shared just a dog getting into a bath with a young child, and it was bubble bath, and the dog's just in and out, playfully. But the little boy, I think it was a little boy, giggling his head off, and it is infectious. A young child's laughter. You're a mum, like, she's got twins. I mean, the cloning has begun. But it's that connection when they're laughing. Is it because they're more pure and hasn't had society crush them? You just start to, when you hear children laughing, you start to smile and start laughing as well.
And when children are laughing, they're exploring brand new, at that level of laughter, brand new neural pathways in the soul, almost fully present in there. So they're deeply creating neural pathways that are going to affect them the rest of their life.
They're
having that kind of amazing laughter joy go through them. That's why there's different forms of laughter. One of the things that I hate about modern television is laugh tracks. I think it's one of the most often weaponized things that is out there, taking away from what true natural laughter is, to the point where most adult children don't know what real laughter is.
Mm-hmm. No, they don't know where to laugh or what's right to laugh.
Right.
But actually, I use this technique of laughing deliberately. Occasionally, when I'm getting exhausted at a course or something, I will say something so confronting that they will all have the nervous laugh, which makes me have a real one. That's how I re-energize. They all do that. Did she mean that?
Like the show Monty was on, I opened up with a bunch of insults. And why did it? Because I was writing a story called An Insulting Story, and I wanted to just share some of the stuff. And one of them is, you are the stone in the shoes of humanity.
Oh, God.
Now that one got so many people to laugh in the comments and the messages that were sent to me, because they know somebody that they want to say that to.
we all have that one.
Right. But they're going to replay it in their head, and then they're going to get this gratifying release and fulfilling release out of it.
No, we play with laughter a lot, you and I, don't we?
Yeah, because it's the truth element. It's the release, and in a cheeky way, it's while they're laughing, the information gets in, and it's the breaking down of barriers.
But that's why, and particularly right now as we speak in our society, comedy is like the last bastion of truth, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Well, that's why the tweak, the popularity of Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle, because they're not falling into line with the PC woke element. And you don't have to be offensive. However, by just telling the truth, people have been drawn to that because it's they're trying to wedge everyone into the same type of thing. And as you know, comedy can go anywhere, and you can laugh at basically everything. South Park proves that everything is nothing is off limits.
Yeah, even if it's Saddam Hussein and the devil.
Yeah, they're a beautiful couple, and leave them alone. They've made choices.
Exactly. There was no stone left unturned on South Park. Yes, so true. Yes. Tested the limits through comedy. Now, political satire, if you don't understand the politics, it doesn't fun at all. And you have to say when Trevor Noah took over for Jon Stewart, totally different delivery, totally different laugh factor. It's hard for me to watch that, not because I don't like Trevor Noah. His stand-up comedy is actually quite funny, but his political satire, it's not him. It's not his comedy. It's written by other people that is writing it for him in a state, because he's not even an American. He's a South African.
Yeah.
So every now and then he'll relate South African politics to American politics, dictators and stuff, and you can get an authentic laugh out of that kind of stuff. And then let's talk about for a second, what is an authentic laugh and what is laughing because everyone else is laughing and it's infectious? That's a big thing. There are a lot of people that don't have those deep, heartfelt laughters. They just share an infectious laughter because there's some such serious side of them that they won't allow them to laugh. That's why
it's a resonant entrainment.
Yeah, they don't allow entertainment.
I've also seen, like, say how we're talking to each other over the internet. Basically, I would say a joke, and they would type LOL, and their faces like this.
Exactly.
I'm laughing on the inside. Or saying, that's hilarious. Well, you didn't laugh. You just said, that's hilarious. How is it hilarious if you're just saying hilarious and you didn't change at all?
Exactly.
Well, there is that new level of laughter. When you're clicking on the laughing face on any social media, it's usually because you exhaled a little more heavily. That's your laugh. Like, yeah, that's it. That was hysterical. And that's all you did. You just exhaled. So that's a whole new level of social media laughter, isn't there?
Well, don't want to get too many emojis that are like scales of laughing. Well, there is actually. There's the one with the crying laughing, and then there's the tilt crying laughing, which means you laugh and then you're laughing more. Because
maybe it's on your way out of your chair.
Yeah. Well, you got LOL and then like LOMA, laughing my ass off, which is an interesting visual.
It is an interesting.
You're laughing so much that your bum falls off.
Well, yeah, I could tell you a recent story where I got a similar butt nickname. No. Don't want to hear that one.
Then there's rolling on floor laughing, and I'm like, are you really rolling on floor laughing? I doubt it.
How did you type this if you're rolling around on the floor?
Good text technique there. I'm on the floor. Mine is the rolling. Sean is, apparently. Okay.
No. Then there are the times where people actually fall out of their chair. I've had many times where something was so funny, I fell out of my chair. Okay. Or I said something to somebody like I can't tell you how many times a year people send me bills for new computers because I said something so stupidly funny they spit out their drink all over their computer.
Yes, they've got to work on that.
I was a mentor of mine who unfortunately passed away, Dave Grant.
Dave Grant.
I was at one of his shows, and his quick timing where he was just talking about a routine, and a waitress dropped a glass, and it shattered. And without missing a beat, he's gone, that was a very big contact lens. And this one woman laughed for 15 minutes. Like just uncontrollably just laugh. And I don't know, she was up the front, so I don't know if she actually fell out, but it's amazing that when you're actually truly laughing, which could be the authentic laughter, you can't do anything else. It's very
all encompassing.
Yeah, it's restrictive in movement or something. However, it's because it's your focal point. So I think that could be the difference with the others. If you've got someone truly laughing and the liquids are coming out everywhere, and someone else has just got the infectious laugh, there's that nervous. You can see in the eyes, like why are they finding it this funny? Did I miss something?
So when you get that one person, the one person in the crowd that's laugh that can't stop it, energy has been passed on to them, and it's turned on a dynamo of joy inside them. I call it a tickling of the funny bone, a tickling of the heart bone, whatever you want to call it. Something has been activated and that literally they can't emotionally stop. And the harder they try to stop, the more they laugh. How many times have you been young and you're laughing and you're trying to stop and you just can't, it just keeps coming and coming and coming.
It's your best moment. It's one of your greatest moments in life. It's this moment where you're absolutely dragged to the moment. You're in the now, and yet you're so expansive spiritually. that you're absolutely not in the now. Like, it's one of the best moments in life. My girlfriend and I, one of my best friends and I were talking yesterday about when you start laughing and you keep bringing up other elements where you keep laughing so hard you can barely breathe.
Yep.
Like, we've had too many of those moments, my girlfriend and I. We were talking about that moment where you just can't even breathe, but you can't stop laughing. You have a little moment of doubt. You might, is this going to stop or is it a stroke? You know, where are we going? But it's one of the best moments in life. It's one of the best healing sessions you could have in life. Every cell lifts in the body.
Yes, better than the Pope coming down and going, "Be healed."
It's so much funny when they put the sound effects on. It's slap.
Exactly. Slap, fall. Next.
You will heal, my brother. I can't get up.
You broke my neck.
See you in court, Popey Pope.
Oh my goodness. I was just reading from Chrissy in your chat room, mentions that she was instilled really young to be afraid to laugh. Oh.
Well, that's the change in society. About a century ago, ladies weren't supposed to laugh and they would cover their mouth when they would laugh.
That's right.
Yeah, so you can see that since the 60s, and even female comics have taken a total different journey to get where they are now, type thing.
Clearly, I missed that memo.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see. Have you seen the movie? And it's a book as well. The Name of the Rose, starring Sean Connery.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like when I went to the Humiversity. It's real. There is a Humiversity here in Australia. The suppression of comedy from the church is, with all the spiritual release, is that why parts of the church want to control that element, because they can't control it if you're laughing?
Well, they control from fear.
Yeah, well, which is not laughter. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Laughter, as Andrew said earlier, it's the antidote to fear.
Well, the other thing is, if they start laughing in church, they'll never take it seriously. There's a thing that the church to laugh at, inconsistencies that they don't ever want to reform and makes stable and senseful. Okay, yeah. I'm going to interject a joke here for a second. So, two cannibals were eating a clown. One says to the other, "Does this taste funny to you?"
Classic.
That's that ha 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 laughter. But there was no delivery to that. Delivery is just as important. Okay, just as important. Okay, yeah, I'll use another cannibal joke. What does the cannibal get when he's late for dinner?
Leftovers.
Chewed out.
Sound effects.
Now, I use these at my speech. I use these at they're horrible, awful jokes, but I actually use these in my speeches because it's all about when, where, and how you deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Just like healing, if you're Mr. Wizardress healing, Miss Wizard healing, you got somebody on the table and you're in that super serious point, you're still making a perfect delivery of the healing energy. All the expectations are there. Now, what's the big difference between a healer and a comedian? Environment.
Yeah, the spelling. But it's the environment, because there is that psychological element, and obviously on the multi-dimensional, the energy. And I've played to a room of 400 people, and it's fascinating when the room ripples with the laughter goes out. It's not all at once. There's that nanosecond of just that energy wave that spreads out. And I can see why a lot of comedians love what they do, because it's not a controlling factor, but there's a slight addiction to it, where you're not controlling everyone, but you're unlocking stuff and you're healing. They may not know what they're doing, but it's that energy rush and everything else like that. And a healer, if a true healer wouldn't weaponize that, but then you can see like the mega churches where they've got tens to thousands of people. I say this, and it's like that's ego driven. So it's fun. Most the whole energy.
Not all. Sometimes
the other side of it, Andrew. What happens? What's your thought on what happens to there's comedians that are just born brilliant. They're just born with that amazing rhythm and with the amazing gift. And I'm talking people like Robin Williams, and people that are just amazing in their rhythm and their talent, and yet are so drained in sharing that comedy. What's happening to them?
So most of them I've already been on this operating on the very large spiritual scale for a very long time, like Robin Williams.
Mhm.
Like in other lifetimes, he was a very serious, let's just say, political figure, very vigorous scientific figure, very serious king or queen, oversaw lots of wars. But because he did all that stuff, he gained a certain form of charisma at the soul level, very easily recognized on the unseen layer. And he chose to come in at an era where mass marketing and mass television would only be like 30 years old. And he came in and did Mork and Mindy and some stand-up shows where he was coked out of his head. Because that's the truth. There was a lot of cocaine at that particular era and time. And those were all spiritual contracts to impact many generations with not only comedy, the inspiration to do comedy, and to not go into war. And his soul was able to use this charisma from all these other serious lifetimes to transmute whatever karma you had with him could be transmuted through karma, through comedy.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So if he was a leader of an army and he killed your village and he made you laugh until poop came out your pants, that was karmic repayment. That did it in that moment for that lifetime.
Wow.
Or it encouraged somebody not to go into politics, but to become a comedian, so on and so on, because he affected so many millions of people.
Which it sort of explains when he went into the serious acting, he was very good at it. Because comedians, to do comedy, it's a little bit more to be used. Drama is a little bit less, if that makes sense. With drama, you're not trying to get a laugh. You can do it. But with comedy, you need all the drama and you're trying to get a laugh. And so a lot of comedians who go into making films, they like having comedians do serious roles because they're only working, say, 90% of the time instead of 100% because they're not trying to get a laugh. Like, you know, the dish.
Speaking of which, in the chat room, Santo has made a comment that has achieved all of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got the drama, the comedy, the beauty, the healing, and his revenge on the Catholic Church by the look of it. Which, yeah, Santo, hate that happened to you, but I love how you dealt with it, even as a child. Good job. So,
He's put the chalice to his lips and sees a big cockroach floating in it. And stuck it in. Just for the mask. Wow. Congratulations, Santo.
That was great. Yeah, it was good.
I've got a question. The Tears of a Clown aspect. Why not every comedian is depressed, but what's the link that comedians have of that depressive trait? Is it they're dealing with their own stuff, or is it like with Ron Williams, who knows how he sort of went out at the end, but he was dealing, you don't see what's behind the curtain type thing.
No.
And so I know I've been with stand-up comedies for a while. A lot of them are miserable bastards off stage. So.
Right. A lot of them, it's the drug abuse that makes them the bastards, drug or alcohol.
Yeah.
Now, do a lot of them have some form of abuse before they come in? Yes, a lot of that is abuse because that's their dream and no one believed in it. And they did nothing but made fun of, that's your dream, you want to be able to go and be a comedian, you're never going to make it, you're better to be a bum on the street.
Yeah.
I wasn't exactly encouraged to be a psychic, let me tell you that. Okay?
Well,
in fact,
my past changed.
highly discouraged. Okay, highly discouraged, and to the point of wanting, almost disownment, but it was just a threat.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of comedians that have severe traumas that they get on stage to confront a severe trauma, but they never beat it. And that's the thing. So they're using comedy to push it away, and then they start drinking. And when they're not on stage and not chasing that high that can be very addictive, they find themselves in a state where they can only do it while they're drunk or high or whatever, and that they have no creativity without those other mediums.
Yeah.
Now, then there are the ones who sober up and become even more funny.
Yeah, Bill Hicks is a good example.
Right. Yeah, Robin Williams is a good example. But at the
Yeah.
end there, before he killed himself, he was off the back on the sauce.
Mm.
You can tell, like the very first Robin Williams I ever heard was Robin Williams live in the Met on a cassette tape that my older brother got. And he swore on that thing and talked about all the drug use and everything that he was doing.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, talking about freebasing, you know, that ain't cheap.
Yeah. That's 87 as well. One joke I do remember, cocaine is God's way of saying you're earning too much money. And he dropped out of stand-up for a while. I think he didn't do stand-up for about 16 years. And then he came back in 2002 where he was clean. And you can see the differences. Half of it was still the same type of material, but rejigged. But he wasn't, you know. Also, his friend John Belushi dying, that sort of gave him a bit of a wake-up call because he saw him about 2 hours before he passed, type thing.
Yeah, he was Weapons of Mass Distraction was his one where he came back sober.
Yeah. And
he talked about Bush, you know, how bad Bush Jr. was, W. Bush.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had a heart attack as well. And he had a cow valve. So he's
he actually had a near-death experience too, where he saw stuff on the other side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. There's a variety of comedians. Why do they do it? The answers are so vast, but it's also a niche artistic market. Why do so many people call this show and want to be an artist? Because it's artistic. And that art, for whatever compulsion or desire is driving them, it's their choice. And I regularly tell people, you know, what do you do for fun that isn't spiritual? And a lot of them give me this dumbfounded look, like, oh, I don't know. Everything I do is spiritual. Okay? And I say, go to a comedy club. And no matter how raunchy the jokes are, watch yourself laugh. Watch the rest of the room laugh. See what kind of serious stick is up your ass and see what you can do to surgically remove it. Life will be so different for you. Life will be so different when you just allow the waves of energy to flow over you. Okay?
Yeah.
Life is here for you to choose. And when you choose to be a healer, it comes in tens of billions of forms. It's not just hands-on, be healed. You know, it's a healer is a book that tells you about a life story of overcoming the hard knocks of life. Healing can be comedy. Healing can be music, a love song. Healing can be anything. It's about how that frequency is transmitted and then how people receive and absorb that frequency deep, deep inside themselves. And that's the layers of laughter that are coming out when they absorb that frequency. And it creates a match to their giggle button, whatever you want to call it.
Actors have a term called corpsing, where if they're on stage and their character dies and they have to lay there for 5 minutes while all the other actors are doing it, they have to try and not breathe. So they're dead. The thing is, if they start to giggle or fall asleep, they've corpsed, and that's where the term is in media. The entertainment industry. Look, we're corpsing, where they're breaking character and they get the giggles. A couple of times, like you would have seen it on Fast Forward here in Australia, where they actually left it in the show. They're trying to do a sketch, but they're laughing at the jokes, and so they're trying to hold it, which makes it more funnier, where they're not failing, but it just takes it in a different direction. Just remembering all these ones where they would say a line and they're trying not to break character. It's how strong the energy is, which I find fascinating. And if you use that word, there's also positive humor and negative humor. And the positive side obviously would be instead of, like we mentioned political satire. You can make good political satire. Babylon Bee, I think, and the Onion do very good satire. Then you have the other political stuff of like, oh, look, he's fat. And they just go for the cheap laugh and nothing. It's not really moving anything forward. It's just like, I can't write a good gag about that person, so I'll just pick on their weight.
Exactly. So the different forms of laughter that are out there that we've just talked about. So let's talk a difference between dark laughter and light laughter. What's the difference?
Well, let's bring in, isn't short, what's the German thing, laughing at someone's pain? Schadenfreude or whatever it is. I'm not good at German, yes?
I stub my toe and everyone laughs.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's the laughing at someone's pain.
Right.
The Germans actually have a word that I can't say.
Well, it's not just at their pain, it's at their missteps.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that sense of humor appeals to me. It's terrible. My kids call me on it all the time. I'll see someone get, wiped out in the surf, and to control myself and not laugh out loud is just painful.
Yeah, you're a good healer, laughing at people hurt themselves. Is that trying to get balance? Or like, fall over, I'll laugh at you and then heal you.
Well, I think another part of dark laughter is where you've reached the point that if you don't laugh, you're going to end it. Like that, you reach a point of such extreme that you either laugh or you fall into the dark.
Or it's a way for you to dispel the fight, flight, or freeze in the moment. Now, when I was younger, I worked for a haunted house company, and we did on a very massive scale. I went all over the world, scaring millions and millions of people. And 1/3 of everyone that was super scared just walked through the whole show laughing. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And they're in a real laugh, but they used it as their shield against the fear. And a lot of times, you see somebody in like those America's Funniest Video that falls off a horse, and that quite possibly that just person might have broke several ribs.
Yeah.
Laughing. Okay.
Yeah.
But then people don't emotionalize or empathize with things. Like, example, I can't tell you how many times in this house somebody stubbed their toe and everyone's laughing and tears are rolling down. We're asking, are you all right? But we're laughing at the same time. Everyone's had that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when it goes to a different
flashbacks now.
Yeah. When somebody actually like sets themselves on fire, you're not laughing at that.
Yeah.
Now, there was one time that I did see a 16-year-old. They were trying to be. He was going to go on a skateboard, and they put lighter fluid all over his pants, and he was going to light it and then skate. So they light it, and he was engulfed. So it was like that. The stupidness of it, where it's like, I'm going to look cool. No, you're a moron. And then the meme was people want to lower the voting age down to 16, and you see this guy that is on fire.
So dark comedy is when people not just laughing at pain, but they're laughing like, let me give the right answer to it. Like racist jokes that I don't think that's the dark comedy. Somebody's traumas. Oh, that person's had such a bad life. We're going to laugh at them. They were abused and this and that, and they're a buttercup that could never stand up for themselves. That's abusive laughter. Abusive comedy.
Yeah.
Is there an element of people laughing at someone else because they've gone through similar things? Not 100%.
Like a bully. Like the bullies where when somebody's bullying a kid and everyone's laughing at the kid that's getting bullied.
Yeah.
Okay? That's that dark comedy thing. But it's still creating the same emotional release. Just the person who's receiving it is not getting the laughter out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's in a way that's manifested in slapstick comedy.
Right.
Where you can watch Bottom or The Young Ones, or someone. I'm seeing I'm laughing already. Someone getting in the head with a fry pan 20 times, but it's done in a comedic way. It's that cartoon, like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, whatever his name is.
Or anything that has that slapstick where finally the bad guy, gets something happens to him, whatever it is. And then there's that authentic, emotional laughter, gotcha energy going on.
Yeah. Because, most of the Three Stooges is, if those films weren't them beating the crap out of each other, it'll be like a 3-minute film because they'll actually move forward. But it's like, okay, we're going to leave the house now. 7 minutes later, they walk out the door because they've just slapped the crap out of each other.
So I'm gonna give you a Three Stooges thing. I must have been, I don't know, 9 or 10, and I'm watching the show. It's like a Saturday morning cartoons, and Three Stooges would be on to just date how old I am. I'm 45, but it was still on at that particular era.
Mhm.
And my mom just happened to come and sit down, and the Three Stooges were going to see a lawyer, and the name of the law firm was Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Oh yeah.
I could not stop laughing at that. And
Yeah.
30 years later, I still get a giggle out of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Yeah. It's like watching the Marx Brothers, made in 1932, and half those jokes still make people laugh because there's an element. It's such brilliant comedy, and it's timeless comedy. Then you've got the other times where you watch a comedian. Oh, I remember watching Eddie Murphy back, 30 years ago, and you don't laugh at all. You just appreciate the jokes, because sometimes jokes decrease in their energy, which I find fascinating.
Mm.
And then there are the ones that the next generation laughs harder, and the next generation that laughs even harder. Like Eddie Murphy talking about his Aunt Bundy was a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
falling down the steps.
I still remember.
Dad.
I still remember my shoe.
My shoe, exactly.
For those who haven't seen it, he's doing an impression of his aunt falling down the steps, and it takes 17 minutes. My shoe. It's just one of those little gags just put in there, and I've remembered it since 1982. And it makes me giggle. It's weird when it pops up out of the middle of nowhere.
It's become pop culture. That's jumped generations.
What the hell is Goonie Google, Gus?
What the hell does Goonie Google mean? Why you bring a Bigfoot and big feet in my house?
And if Lillian doesn't like it, she can get out as well.
And then dodge from the shoe.
Yes. Miss me.
Exactly. Miss me, bitch.
And yeah, that's like delirious. He was 21 when I think he recorded that in 82, 84, and still talking about it. It's I know Robin Williams stuff still sells, especially when he passed. People like to make money out of him. But Robin Williams at the Met, I think it was his third film. He had An Evening with Robin Williams, which was in San Francisco. And before that, it was his first sort of film called Reality, What a Concept. And they still sell that, and that's 79. Yeah.
I remember it was Live at the Met. That was the first one I comedy tape that I got. That's swearing and everything. He talked about raising a kid, using all the kids' voices, and then the drugs, and then just so many little bits inside that people will remember. Okay. And then there's people like Dave Chappelle, comic genius, skit genius. When he was doing this Chappelle show, he came up with such unique skits that are jumping generations, like Black Gallagher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If anybody's ever watched Gallagher, and then you go and watch this Dave Chappelle skit where Gallagher's a black guy. And it is so funny. It is so funny.
The one sketch that I can't really go around doing is I can't remember the character's name, but he's the black white supremacist.
Yes.
And he's blind. Yeah, because if you jokingly go out in public, go white power, people won't know that's from a comedy sketch.
Especially if you watch.
Yeah, exactly. But if you watch it, it's just brilliant satire that and it's like he divorces his wife because she's a Nigerian lover, as I changed the words.
Okay.
Yes, Nigerian, not the other one. But and that's the last gag of the thing, where it's like he finds out that he's black, and then he divorces his wife because she's married to a black man, which is him.
Exactly. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. And let's try to get the audience to actually laugh and not just LOL on the keyboard. And we're going to have a little bit of audience participation here. So for all of you there that have watched it's Jump and laughed really hard, we're gonna try to get you to laugh And we want you to write just more than LOL. We want you to rate your laugh. LOL, yeah, LOL, yeah, oh, good. But, if you're really, really laughing hard at what we're going to randomly get into here, go on and type into that chat room level of comedy, because we're going to try to get to that infectious stage where we want to make your sides hurt. So Monty, we've talked before. The last show we had a lot of people falling out of their thing. What are some of those jokes that are slow burns?
Oh, see, now I'm being put on the spot, so the brain's gone. You're on your own. And I think just
define what a slow burn joke is.
Oh, just define that. Oh, now the brain's back. Good. You just start out with like an idea, and then you make fun of it, and then you build, and as you keep talking, like if you're using fast, the ideas get bigger and bigger. Is that what you're sort of referring to?
Yeah.
Because yeah. And so like in 30 seconds you've gone from just like see, I can't think of an example, which is
You said it last night. They'll get it in the car ride on the way home.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So like comedy's going from A to B, and you find a new way of getting to it. And for some people, they may not have time to process the imagery or the path that you've gone, and then 3 hours later, oh, a banana, and that's where they click. And I find it just you're throwing seeds into their consciousness, and I'm not saying this is a negative thing. It's just some people have a quick mind and some people don't, but you'll eventually get it, which makes comedians laugh even more, because who knows when you'll laugh at the joke. It could be it's like, I'll have a coffee and banana. I'm using banana as the running gag now. So it's. Yeah, I don't know why banana.
So Melissa,
thank you. Someone thinks I'm your mother.
Melissa, let's say pull a story out of like some of your sessions you've done where you laugh really hard. Let's see if you can pass on to that audience.
What I pass on to make them laugh, or what they do to make me laugh.
That's happened in your private life or public life, or in your session. Something you know is a good story.
Oh, it's a good story. I can tell you a story from just a few days ago. I went into an actual building, into the bank a few days ago, and it was a particularly hot day. I had a short dress on, and and as I was leaning over speaking to the teller, this loud female voice from behind me said, "I can see your ass," and I've turned around, and there was this woman in the queue who was probably, it's hard to define her age, I'd say like late 50s, but she was clearly long-term drug addicted. She was very thin, covered in scars, you could see this woman had a troubled life, and that everyone in the bank was terrified of her. And she was a tiny little thing. Unfortunately, she did have a bag of coin, but I turned around and I've said what? And she said, "Yeah, when you're bending over, your dress is riding up. I can see your ass cheeks." And I said to her, "Look, lucky I remembered to wear knickers today. Thanks for the heads up." And so I went back to what I was doing with the teller. And uncomfortable lady, she's in the bank. Security were like moving in. People were edging away from her because the internal monologue had no filter anymore. So she's just talking out loud. "Oh, I freaking hate queues. I freaking, how long is this going to take?" So I turned around and said to her, "Hey, I'm finished. This lady's really helpful." Don't think the teller was too happy about that. But this lady's really helpful. Why don't you come over here? So she came over, and as I was leaving, I touched her arm and just said, "Hey, thanks for the knickers heads up too. Good job you." And as I walked out, she yelled at everyone, "You should all be as nice as Ass Cheeks is." So yeah, I had an unexpected withdrawal at the bank. I've walked away with a new nickname.
So Ass Cheeks will be performing next week.
Yes, there's been a lot of people on social media thinking I should change my name to that now.
So before we get the Bottoms Up Club.
But the thing was, like, I've had all these people comment on that story saying about how kind I am and how blah blah. No, this lady, she was a tiny little thing that had developed survival technique, and she was the way she was because she was a woman in pain.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she's not to be feared. But the reaction was fear. And they were all terrified of her. Like, she was tiny.
In moments like that, if you can make them laugh, it diffuses tension. I mean, everyone else is probably freaking out, but if the person who's the center of the energy of like, oh, hey, you going? Everyone's like, oh, crazy druggy person. If you make the person laugh, they calm down. It doesn't matter, you know, because everyone else is judging it by appearance and actions. But if you diffuse the energy, I've stopped a lot of fights with jokes.
Yeah,
which is great because I don't like fighting. Strangely enough, that's the power of comedy as well. It's you break that tension, which is basically like most things in life. All the joke is build up and then you build up the tension and then break it.
The life is the joke, though. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know I live in it's like I don't play video games. I'm in one. So it's like I never liked playing video games in a video game. It's like, what the hell? Those gamers are sucky. You know, the developers are like, I know, we've got a video game. Let's make the character play a video game in the video game. It's very meta. No, it's freaking annoying.
Exactly. Totally annoying. So
yeah.
I'll have a related story here, and this is funny to me. But so I'm doing a private session with this. Unfortunately, all too often I berate this group of people. A mother with 4 children that's a yoga instructor, and now I get a lot of mothers with 4 children that are yoga instructors. Not to put down that community, it is just a large variety of them. And this lady is Miss Love and Light and Love and Light and Love and Light and in a horrible relationship. Her 4 kids hate her, you know. But yoga brings me my love and light. And I had to have a moment where I had to like sum up, you know, you're in a crappy relationship, your 4 kids hate you, you know, you have no money, you only have 1 yoga student in 7 years. If you think you're doing something wrong. Okay, and I'm trying not to laugh when I'm summing this up.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here. Is it possible you might be the problem?
There is a common factor in this equation.
Right. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Okay. And I'm trying to hold back my laughter because this is a very serious moment for this particular person that happens to be a common theme. Okay, and then I gotta, you know, look, I'm going to cry energy out of them. And they're right on that teetering. And I go, well, you know, this is one of those moments you got to learn to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
And they go, that fake laugh, that energy that just doesn't add anything to it. And then I'll go, well, you know, even though your kids hate you, at least you can have all your time for your students. You know,
find the balance.
I can tell you, there's a lot of yoga moms that don't want to be picking their kids up from school anymore. Okay? Tired of being a taxi mom.
Yeah.
A lot of moms turn out to be taxi drivers.
I have 5 kids. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to her.
A taxi driver.
That explains why you run 5 kilometers a day.
That's exactly why I run 5 kilometers a day. It makes me a much nicer mum.
No, you run away from them.
Then I run across the classic paranoid conspiracy theorist man who's been banned from Facebook, banned from Twitter, banned from all social media. And when you talk to them, all they do is talk over you. Like, even though they're paying for a session, and let's say it's an hour session, they'll talk for 50 minutes. And every time you go to give them a piece of advice, they just talk over you.
Yeah.
Okay, I find that very funny, actually. I there are times that I laugh, and then there are times I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I just literally just start blah, 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 blah. And they stop and going, what did you say? I go, I was just blah, blah, blahing for 5 minutes because that's all you're doing is blabbering your mouth so you can be heard.
Yeah, I need help, and I'm just going to ignore everything you say now because I still need help. and it's like they're stuck in that little loop where it's like it's an element of victimhood, isn't it? Basically, it's like, I need help and I'm going to stay here.
Self-tyranny.
Well, it's like when I'm teaching our professional facilitators, intent is everything. So if someone comes to you for healing and you say, so you're ready for this? Are you ready to be healed? Are you ready for this change? They'll either say yes or a million other things that all mean no. like anything else is no. Oh, I've been everywhere. There's no hope. That's a no. Oh, look, I'm ready for this. Yeah, absolutely. Can't stop talking. There's a no. The examples I could give of no's when people just aren't ready to be there.
I wish people, it's a closed question. You've got two options, yes, no, or maybe a maybe. And, you know, I do it when I was doing stuff as well. It's like, so how do you feel? Oh, blah, 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 blah. That's nice, but let's just answer the question. It's yes or no. So with you and Melissa, just say yes and hold on.
Yeah, I'll get on with it.
Yeah.
I'll get on with the good stuff. But it's like...
And then there are
listen, can I spin into a different direction? Or it's a little bit going backwards in our conversation. I was thinking about, you know, we were counting moments we remember from various comedy scenes and shows, and let's just kudos to this guy's history recount of who did what and what year. I mean,
me, you know, I chose to remember stuff.
Is it kind of like a defense medicinal cabinet that you have in your head, that you do have little scenes that can just pop up in your mind and crack you up in the middle of nowhere? Like, I was having a healing session about 20 years ago now, but I remember on the table, I lost it laughing on the table. Someone was working on me and I lost it laughing on the table. I suddenly had a flashback to an episode of MASH where, McLean, what was his name in the show?
Henry.
Yeah, Henry, where Henry shook the flue and the charcoal fell down on his face. And I don't know, it was just this one moment out of a MASH episode that just had me in hysterics. I mean, I was in this sort of, I guess, elevated state in the healing session anyway, but it's amazing to me that you have this little file in your brain that can switch some of the things that made you laugh back to you.
Yeah, you've got your joke bank, because a lot of men...
Yeah, joke bank, that's it.
Yeah, because men have spank bank, but this one's about jokes.
Yeah, that's an amazing tool.
They have their spank bank too. It's just the title.
Yeah, I know. So you've got a joke bank as well. That's on the other side of the brain, the mind.
I don't know if that's appropriate. I just told the ass cheek story. Like, anyway.
Should have heard the joke I said earlier, but anyway.
Oh my goodness, Santos just talked about people that get things stuck in their teeth and you know, look, that is me. I can walk around with stuff stuck in my teeth for like 8 hours before I realize, and no one's brave enough to tell me. Well, and all I can think is, well, at least a lot of people got a laugh out of that.
Well, because Melissa's in frequency and energy, at one of her courses in the highest state, she went into the bathroom and walked straight into a mirror and then apologized to the woman that she bumped into, which is herself.
I was very confused for quite a few minutes there.
And the last course I did.
Teaching. Very powerful dimensional teaching right there.
And the last course you did,
don't apologize. Don't make excuses for your own self, but apologize to yourself.
Well, I actually said, geez, I'm sorry. Gee, you look familiar. And then I
click. And yeah. One thing that I found funny is last course, remember you were teaching
oh God, is this a wardrobe malfunction?
No.
Okay.
No. Here's an idea. Let me finish.
Okay.
The teaching, like we've got all different powers. We should remember we're remembering who we are, and all our power. And the one is psychic readings. You know, the basic one. And I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think he's from Adelaide. And you sort of tap into somebody and see what you get from your higher self as a word.
Yep.
And I got Garfield.
That's right.
I have no idea why. It just went opened up. Okay, what can I say to? I'm going to call him Sean, and Garfield. And no, and he didn't know what it was either. Melissa did it, and I'll let you take over from here. Where you tapped into what I was trying to say. What was it?
He actually had, in the vibration of his animal totem, his animal spirit, he was a tiger. And so he, so in tuning in, Monty's picked out his call to the tiger, Garfield.
Yeah, my higher self said Garfield, so even my higher self is a comedian.
There's Andrew frozen.
I have an intergalactic comedian that comes to me as often, and it's been going on for years. And then after a while, it's an actual collective of comedians from thousands of different species that try to come to watch the human condition for the comedy that it is. And in one way, they're trying to learn human comedy and to make true human comedy. And every now and then, as I'm doing some of my really advanced galactic historian stuff, they kind of just step in. And one of these scenarios was right after a really long weekend event that I had given, and I was really, really tired. And some friends had stopped over, and we were just talking about the event. And I was relating a story about these galactic comedians, and one said, well, try to bring one in. Let's do some jokes. And they don't normally like to be put on the spot. Yeah. So a little bit of rigmarole back and forth. And somebody said, what would you do with all your power? And at this point, I got this ball of inspiration. What can you truly do with all your power and put a comedy tint to it? Well, all the dark guys that are out there want to know all the wisdom that's in the Akashic record. So I'm going to take all of that wisdom and I'm going to stick it into one book that's all scratch and sniff stickers. They're all the smells of farts. Okay. Now the galactic comedians went, what? Holy shit. We're going to take all this wisdom, put it into one book, and time travel it through history. And that all the dark guys, if you want to learn everything, you have to use scratch and sniff stickers. It's the only way to absorb the information. That's the smell of farts. Okay. Now, at the time, this was a 3-hour fall out of your chair laughing thing as I'm watching them bring it and put it in front of the Dark Lords. Like, I ain't sniffing that shit. Get with it. Or have their minions sniff it. And then the minions learn all the wisdom and leave the dark guys behind. Okay? So it was a very guerrilla warfare book.
Yeah. I'm just trying. How would you market that?
Okay. Now the other thing, I work with some really advanced marketing people, and I try to help them create brandings and stuff. And one guy asked me, "So what did you brand?" I said, "I had to brand the unlimited point of view and how to pray." The spirit, I had to come up with a price for the unlimited view, a price of how to do prayer, all this, and market the unlimited point of view. That you are an awakened being. You can be motivated by yourself. It is self-healing, self-nurturing, and self-mastery. I had to market all that. And that was its own unique comical moment where I and spirit and all those other things, they're trying to get that out. I'm marketing the unlimited point of view. Damn it, China's going to steal it one day.
Well, you were saying that, and my brain just went, do I get a T-shirt out of that? Awesome, dude, but is there a T-shirt involved? I want a T-shirt.
No T-shirt. I got the unlimited point of view, and I didn't get a T-shirt.
Well, I can't wait for the next reality to come along then. Maybe I'll get a T-shirt saying banana.
Next reality is going to come along. It's going to be super serious reality.
So yeah, the Joker by Heath Ledger. Why so serious? You have a knife in my throat.
I think the first Batman, the best Joker quote is, "This town needs an enema."
Oh yes. Well, it's Jack, so he was good.
He was good.
Well, still is. He's still alive. It's just really weird watching him on The Departed and dropping the C-bomb.
Oh, haven't seen that.
Yeah, I can tell.
Great movie.
It is a great movie. It's a remake of a Japanese film. It's Scorsese though. It's got Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, it's worth a watch.
I'll look it. I'll definitely check it out. Yeah. We do this a lot. You need to watch this. You need to see that.
Yeah. Well, I passed on that Melissa should see Messiah, because her daughter is a very lovely Christian. So
Yeah, my daughter's a Christian.
here's a question in a comedic way. How can, with your spirit, tap to spirit and healing, and she's a Christian, any funny moments, clashes, or
lots.
like, Jesus loves you? Yeah, so do I, but go to bed.
No, I'm sure I'm one of the, God, the universe, everything source. I am their comedy show. I'm sure of it. And sure enough, I mean, my oldest daughter is a Christian minister, and she's and she's an awesome one. She was born loving Jesus and had never heard from either of her parents who he was. It was just an amazing thing. So she's born with it. No, she's grown up in a house full of spirit and me and all that is. And the number one rule is, if she ever came home righteous or judgmental under the basis of any form of religion, her butt's out the door. So she's doing well.
Do well on her own.
Well, probably scarier for her church if she still lives with me. So,
Just think 400 years ago, witch, your mother's a witch.
But it's amazing because I was raised in really strict Catholic house, and I was sent away to a really strict Catholic school that was run by brothers, by Christian brothers. And I really disrupted that place. Like, because I was born knowing that this is who I am and I'm here to bring change. And so, I really stirred up the poor old Catholic brothers, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, didn't you ask a question in mass or something and you got thrown out?
Oh, I got suspended. But yeah, it's I love the topic of religion when it comes to comedy, because religion is the construct of man. God didn't make religion, man did. And so if you go right back to those basic roots, we're not offending God no matter what we say.
Maybe religion's offending God, but
it probably is. I imagine if we got to talk to the J-man, he'd say, I never wanted that. I didn't ask for Christianity. I wasn't even here when it started. But he was Jewish.
But my conditioning, in my mind, he's Irish. Oh, you come to... Oh, you think that's funny? You're sitting all the time. I don't think so, lad. Just... Dad's upset with you. I'm going for a pint.
A lot of the Christian people, I say Jesus is not coming back. Now, there's a reason. Now, my grandmother, she developed Alzheimer's in her mid-80s, and she lived till she was 96. But it started getting pretty severe, and she ended up having to come and live with my mom and dad, and I'd come on the weekends or whatever time I could come to give some time off. And then for a short time, I stayed here a while too. And my mom would always say, "Oh, Lord Jesus Christ, help me," even though my mom's virtually an atheist, even though she still goes to church. And you'd hear in the background my grandma go, "He's not coming. Don't ask for him anymore. He's not coming." Okay. Now that evolved to, I'd hear, people say, "Oh, Lord Jesus Christ, help me." And then I hear in my back of my own mind, "He's not coming." And I've heard so many jokes where like, "Well, Jesus is not going to come back until, nail him to the cross again."
Yeah.
Why would he come back?
That's right.
Yeah, Bill Hicks.
You just screwed up all my words. I never said this.
That's right.
Yeah. As Bill Hicks' great routine, a lot of Christians wear crosses around their neck. Do you think when Christ comes back, he ever wants to see another cross?
Exactly.
Well, that brings up the topic of it, though. There's your dark comedy, that people are wearing the cross, saying they believe in Jesus. They believe in his death. They believe in his torture.
Blood.
Love, peace, harmony, based on death.
And listen, I'm going to duck back into past comedy because Santos brought up the topic of Life of Brian, and my eldest daughter and a group of her friends, 18 years old, I introduced them to Monty Python not long ago. And these kids were actually rolling on the floor laughing, just hysterics, watching Life of Brian and watching, the Flying Circus and everything. And what was amazing to me, and Monty and I discussed it at length, was the jokes in like Holy Grail is what, 1973?
75, 76.
Yeah.
Flying Circus is 69 to 74.
The jokes are still current. The politics are still current. We have not evolved in comedy since then.
Well, no, society hasn't evolved. And so the comedy works still, apart from production values and technology. Apart from that, we sort of haven't moved forward since the 70s.
I mean, it was awesome to see these 18-year-olds in hysterics to the same things that have cracked us up.
It's also good comedy. So.
Oh, it is.
It's outstanding comedy, like Life of Brian with the corporate raiders, or the Irish wife standing there and the kid falls out of her womb.
I picked it up with the Deirdre.
Or don't eat the salmon mousse, which is a pop culture line. If you don't know where it comes from Life of Brian, where the guy at the end of the thing, he blows up from eating too much.
Yeah, that's in the Meaning of Life, where John Cleese is playing Death. How do we all die at once? And it's an American, but it's like he leans over and goes, "The salmon mousse."
Don't eat the salmon mousse, exactly.
And then Michael Palin in drag, they're walking off to heaven, and Michael Palin goes, "But I didn't have the mousse. I didn't have the salmon."
Shut up. Exactly.
And then they get there, and it's Christmas every day in heaven.
Exactly.
Hey, but for those of you listening in, us that have teenagers, introduce them to Monty Python. It's like,
yes, as well as what's it? Brain fart. Blackadder. Blackadder.
Oh, yeah.
Really good
Ones,
too.
Well, actually, has Colby seen Young Ones? Because
Yeah.
she's just starting university. Perfect for it.
Yeah, she knows Young Ones.
Okay.
We do a lot of quotes from Rick Mail.
Oh, yes.
And Vivian.
The people poet. Oh, no. What will the kids do?
Oh, I just remembered the hippie's name, Neil.
Yes, Neil.
Oh, I had the brain fart like 24 hours over his name.
Yeah, he got thrown. He went into a army recruitment office and gets thrown out. It's like, all I said was I was a pacifist.
All right, everyone. Let's look back at that interaction there. So, everyone that's been interacting with the chat room, we've been going for a little bit more than an hour and 10 minutes. How would you rate your laugh factor for the last 70 minutes? 1 being, LOL, and 10 being actually laughing.
Actual noise exiting.
So the scale is, about 3 or 4 is laugh. That's where laugh starts. That's interesting.
So 4 or 5 would be the snort thing, the exhale. Oh. No, 4? I reckon it's a 4. All right. Well,
or 5. Oh, man, tough audience here. 3 people responded. Oh, wow.
Is it the 2-drink minimum? What's going on? You can't laugh at work. You just sort of have to bury it in your shoulder.
Oh, yeah, there. 6, 2.5. Oh, Johnny.
Angry laugh.
Yeah, there's an angry laugh. Where does that go on the scale? I'm trying to think.
No, it's still a laugh.
Well, maybe that's on the dark laugh scale.
Yeah.
And he's dropped the F-bomb in there, so probably a 6 on the angry scale.
Well, we could also unmute everybody and see what it sounds like.
It would just mute everyone. You wouldn't hear anything.
Noise.
The word cacophony comes to mind.
Oh, good on you, Colleen. We love you. We love you.
There we go.
Colleen.
That's right. Colleen, power to Colleen. All right. So I would like to leave it open where both the two of you can, let's say, the 3 of us can come up with some funny comedic evolving story in which the audience can be a part of. Because it's a point where impromptu has its own power behind it. Like little things that pop up in the chat room that influence our conversation. And let's see what we can do and share that comedic energy, just as if it were a prayer. Instead of us, prayer, whatever it is, all of us gonna channel our inner comedians. Okay. Oh, great spirit of light, bring down the comedy light today. Bless our third eyes with new forms of awareness, and may we spread the comedy to all it is, was, and ever will be.
Also, Andrew and I have come up with a theory that our third eye and our anus are actually linked together.
That would make sense, especially the fart thing.
Yes,
especially with how funny farts are.
Are you familiar with the gut brain? The gut.
The what?
The brain in your gut.
The gut brain.
No, the gut.
No, there's a whole science behind it. Like like 80% of your immune system is stored in your intestinal tract, and that there are just as many nerve endings and neural pathways inside your intestinal tract that there is in your brain. That there is a reverse third eye, which is your anus.
Yeah. Well, that makes complete sense.
Instead of getting shit, it's releasing shit.
Yes.
Releasing, it's the transmutation factor.
Yeah. No DMT involved, just, bad Vindaloo.
That's right.
Or even good Vindaloo, depending on
depending on you,
under the Constitution.
Depending on the goal.
When Andrew started, let's do some improv and impromptu type of comedy, and I've just got like, the pyramids, are they speakers? Because it's a hell of a setup.
It is.
Is the geezer? Is that the bass, sub bass?
Oh, it's connection to Orion. It's like full surround sound, isn't it? It's galactic surround sound.
That's where the galactic DJs like MC Important goes to be heard.
But the thing is, they've actually put limiters on those speakers because after the debacle in Mars that blew off the whole atmosphere, I'm not going to go through that again. So there you go. Yeah, Mars was destroyed by a rave.
What a way to go.
Bloody techno hippies.
You want the good exit. You want the good exit.
Well, Pink Floyd's From the Moon.
Dark side.
Look, that's just awkward. Look, someone's just written, it's hard being a comedian. I think comedy is probably, stand-up comedy particularly, is one of the hardest. I don't want to call it a profession. I'd rather call it an art. Well,
form. It is an art, and
if you're lucky, you're lucky if you can make it your profession.
The weird thing is that stand-up comedy is easy to do. It's extremely hard to learn.
I think you're born with it. You're born with it, or you're not.
Oh no, there's an element of that. Because when I was talking to Andrew a couple of days ago, I remember mentioned Sean McAuliffe. He doesn't think he's funny, but he's very technical. And then Andrew said, "So he's technically funny."
Get it? Technically, it's funny.
There you go. So you can learn. Like there are people that are born with it, but you can still learn enough where you know how to use everything.
Yeah.
Everyone can, and also one barrier is getting up on stage and doing it in front of people. However, every group of friends, there's say 80% of them can hold court and make everyone laugh. And it's just like at the pub or a cafe or anything else like that. This big step is of going on stage in front of complete strangers and being totally open and not caring at the same time, which is an interesting balance, because if you start caring what the audience thinks, you lose them. But you're also up there, if you're doing truth comedy, you're totally open and you're trying to get that energy exchange. Because I know with yourself where you say that you're shy and you keep still getting up on stage and talking to complete strangers.
No, I'm very good at talking to strangers. It's just if I sit at a table with 2 or 3 people, I shouldn't just freeze myself up. But yeah. But
so safety in numbers. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's the disconnection from the audience.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, but I was just thinking of a story when I was teaching that encompasses a lot of our favourite topics throughout this conversation. I was teaching over in Adelaide in South Australia, and this lovely lady who was 84 was attending this course, and she was on the treatment table, which of course has a vinyl cover. This is important because as she was getting off the table, she sat up. So I just demonstrated to people what was going on and all the rest. And as she was getting off the table, she launched by use of a very loud fart, as only someone in their 80s can do, really. But of course, I had a microphone on and she was on a vinyl cushion. So it was wonderfully amplified throughout the hall. And the only person that didn't react to it was her. She used it as propulsion to get up the table. She was up she gets. But it was one of those moments where you can't laugh because you're on stage, mic'd up and everything. But I knew if I looked up at my 2IC, in fact, Rob, if I looked at him, I would lose it. And I knew if I looked at my operations manager, she would be going, like, don't you start laughing. So I couldn't look at her for support either. And the entire crowd was waiting for me to say something. And unfortunately, I looked at Rob, and that was it. You know, when you have the giggles and you just can't stop. Yeah, had to take a 5-minute break.
Yeah. you corpse. See, now my thing would have I'll just let that one go through the keeper and just continue on. But that's the build of tension, and you needed that release. Strangely enough, that's what she did to get off the table.
Right.
Yeah, there was a build of tension. Because I can see, she just tensed everything up, and a little bit of air said, "No, we have to leave now."
You need some help off there?
See, that's what, once I remember how to float again, I'm going to eat a lot of baked beans so I can actually move around.
Propulsion.
Yeah. Wait.
Yes. Anyway. Forced laughter sounds like dissatisfaction.
I'm debating if I'm going to tell this healer story. I'm ultimately going to, but it's so I'm in my mid 20s, and I had taken cranial sacral therapy, Reiki, myofascial release. So I've done really a lot of this stuff, and I'm really, really good at it. And I'm working at this clinic, and for the last several weeks, I've been getting a rather large number of older ladies. And every time I'd come in and do my sessions, all the other massage therapists, be all depressed because I'd have clients where they didn't, I had the touch at that particular time. And I would always notice these big wet spots on the massage table. And I'd clean it up all the time and put the new things on, big wet spots on the tables. And I just, after this lady left, I yelled out, "What the hell are all these wet spots?" And this woman in the back, who's another massage therapist, "That's them squirting." Wetting their pants with you touching them. I just stopped and went, "Oh." It was like the last 3 months suddenly made sense to me.
You'll get that in the car. Click.
Oh my God, no. And it's all the old women. No. No.
Yes, we don't. When you go to the Akashic Records, that book's missing.
That one's redacted.
Yeah. Why is this all blank? Oh, look, great book of farts. I'll read this.
Now I'll relate another story. I don't know if I've told this one on air, but I don't care no more. So in another era of my life where I was much younger and I was a limo driver, and every now and then I'd get a weekend off because I'd work basically Thursday to Sunday, or Friday to Sunday, and then Monday to Thursday I could do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. I made more money in 2 days in just tips than possible that you could think of. So we're going to go out with a group of friends, and these friends we beat every Friday, but one person might make a dinner, then the next house it's that other thing. And it happened to be my turn, and then I decided I was going to make a chili. But I was reminded of a scenario that my middle brother, Mike, he was watching my grandmother's house while she was away in Greece and the 2 dogs that were there. And I come into the house just to see what was going on, and he was with a friend, and I was accosted by this smell. And I couldn't understand what the smell, even the dogs were there going, "Oh no." They ended up making chili, but my grandmother always bought dried beans. So they didn't soak them in the water. Oh. Do you know what happens when you don't soak beans in the water? They turn super, super, super gassy to the point where you'll be have a gas attack for 48 hours. Really horrible, stenchy ones. Fast forward 20 years later, and this group of people happened to be a little bit snooty. We'll just call it that way. Very good-looking women, very good-looking men, and I'm going to get vengeance. So I decided to make a chili that had steak in it. I cut the steak into little tiny cubes, and I purposely didn't wash the beans. They all came over. They loved it. And then we go out to the dance clubs. Oh. For the first time, you saw a woman go to her bathroom by herself. Or the back of the dress go, "Whoop, whoop." And I'm holding it in. It took me 3 years before I actually told anyone, because there were a number of other stories where somebody was getting lucky with somebody else, and it kept going and going, and it ended up in somebody's face. I don't want to give the things, but many things happened from that night. But the end of the night look of going to Denny's where they're trying to blame it on the vinyl on the chair. And I know it's not that. A girl on top of the stage dancing, and everybody just goes away from her. They're all self-conscious. Why are they leaving me?
Yeah, when I'm working in nightclubs, I had the same thing. There's this perverse joy of when you've got gas of walking through a massive crowd and going, I'm going upstairs now. You can see this cloud of just horror following.
I know I'm gonna get a message in email or face. It was you.
I'll get you, Bartzis.
That crowd was very cliquey, very, very cliquey. And every now and then would do some unnice things. So it was quality vengeance. Okay.
Like meat flew through a straw and through in nightclubs.
Sharing a taxi in San Francisco with 3 farting women really bad who are blaming their boyfriends. Can't be all 3 of them doing it.
Yeah, so San Francisco now then, because apparently you can poo anywhere. Joy.
Well, I actually have 4 daughters, and my son is not living at home anymore. So there's only girls in my house. The only male in the house is the dog, and geez, he gets blamed a lot. The poor dog. Like, it's really got bowel problems, that one.
Which is strange because, like, he doesn't wag his tail; he wags his neck.
His whole body.
The whole body.
It's a full body wiggle.
He's trying to find an oscillation. It's like
it's a very happy dog.
Yeah.
It's probably why he has so much wind. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's laughing so much, he breathes in. That's it. Yeah.
Sandra's popped in with something.
I just remembered I nearly killed someone from laughter. It wasn't my joke, but there was a group from Canada called the Three Canadians. Wonder how they came up with that name. But with a French accent, the English words Coke and ice sounds hilarious. And I just made this girl, she was crying and trying to breathe because she was just laughing. Because in a French accent, it's like, I would like a drink. Can I have some cock, please? And some ass. Cock and ass. Yes. I love it when the cock gets into the ass, okay? Yeah. Did that for 5 minutes, and I actually go, she laughed all the oxygen out. And it's so weird when you got someone laughing and crying and threatening you at the same time. But yeah, the whole cock and ass. Cock and ass, please. A big cock with a little bit of ass. So they were good times.
Oh, the power of laughter. The power of laughter. It can end careers and start new ones.
Yes, yeah. End fights as well as start fights where you just say one line and Oh, high school just went through my head. Just say a line like,
yeah.
And what are everyone's stories of how they've poisoned people or been poisoned? There's some great stuff coming up in the chat room.
It's fascinating. I delve into Twitter mainly for the comedy. It's where I was like, here's a joke. But parody or satire, it's very hard to see which is real and not, because there are people out there that are offended by anything. Like the latest one is there's a council in the UK that was flying a flag saying woman, noun, and like woman, and it's the dictionary meaning of it. And some transgender people got offended by it. And so they had to take it down. And everyone's like, what? So now the dictionary's sexist, everyone. And so it's so hard where, like, 10 years ago, that could have been just a not bad comedy sketch. But it's real life now, which Andrew has said with the transition or earth changes or ascension, whatever language you want to use.
Yep.
the media especially is going to turn it into a Three Stooges sketch. And I've added, Three Stooges had sex with a Monty Python sketch. And that's what you're seeing, because they can't release any information, because this will be the crack in the dam and everything will fall through. And so it's ridiculous. Like, apparently Joe Biden seems to be the front runner for the Democratic nomination. The thing is, Joe doesn't know where he is. He's like slowly losing it. It's like, quick, just put him up. He's better than Bernie. It's like, he doesn't, he keeps sniffing children. That's not right.
Perhaps the greatest joke is that we chose to be here for this.
Yeah, there's a lot of memes of like, I incarnated here again.
That's because you lost your shoes when you were 90 million years old, and you're still looking for your shoes.
I put my keys down somewhere.
So both Bernie and Biden are having like extreme senior moments. Like Bernie walked onto the wrong private jet the other day.
Yeah. Well, no, he just took it because he's a socialist. This is mine now. But yeah, during one of the debates, Biden was bleeding from the eye. It looked really gross. Like, and I'm a good president. Slowly, the eyes turning from white to red.
Oh, jeez, that's a lot of blood thinners.
Yeah. And he doesn't know, like he said, the Constitution, where instead of saying God, he said, the thing. So, in thing we trust.
When he tries to cover up swearing, it's like a 1950s like TV show. Golly gee willikers, flooding America. It's like, wow, that's some practice to control it at that level.
And the irony of, like, you see him all, being sort of slightly inappropriate with children or women, and just like the hands go anywhere and stuff like that. And then he did a video with Lady Gaga talking about sexual harassment. It's one of those classic things like, you should stop doing this after you. Like Billy Idol, kids don't do drugs, they're bad. After you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking with Twitter, I keep retweeting Hillary Clinton tweets. Usually you mean like you, because the president's dangerous and it's going to start wars and kill people. That's what you do. Hillary is the gift that keeps on giving.
She is.
Like the clap.
Sorry?
Like the clap.
Yeah. Apparently she's starting a podcast, and so for a couple of days there was Hillary podcast names. I can't remember what mine was, but mine was Death Becomes It.
Cool.
Death Becomes It.
Yeah, this is Hillary Clinton's new podcast.
She's locked up.
I shared a meme as well. A car tire said, "I've got dirt on the Clintons and we'll put them in jail." And then the next panel, next panel, it's a swing, so it's the ropes around the tire and just hanging there.
That's good.
And every time someone dies, someone does a fake tweet. I have information that will put the Clintons into jail. So, like, when the Queen Mother died, or even I can't remember what, but an example would be if YouTube's website went down and someone would tweet YouTube, "I have information." That's called a running gag, where it's the same thing over and over again, but you just keep using it.
Let's delve into difficult waters. Let's make fun of coronavirus.
Oh, where do I start?
Well, actually,
wherever you want. Let's push that boundaries like a joke after 9/11.
Oh my God, how bloody stupid is this?
Corona beer has changed its name to Ebola, so it's not going to be connected with the virus as well. And here in Australia, apparently, to survive Armageddon and prep for it, you just buy rice and toilet paper. That's it. Like, everyone's bought toilet paper.
Just the sadness you're seeing in society and in humanity, that they're buying into this crap. But look, before we even go into coronavirus, just a few stats for anyone that's out there listening. Look, have a look at the stats in China, in Wuhan. The rate of people actually contracting it is vastly reduced, almost zeroed now. This virus was always going to come in fast and go out fast. That's how it was constructed. That's how it's been patented. It's a virus that is achieving what it wanted to achieve in the world economy. But what it's achieved even more is a microscopic, nasty magnification of the stupidity of our society now.
Well, yeah.
Like, it is a virus that is a flu virus. And like any flu virus, it's going to take people out that are elderly or vulnerable. Happens in every flu season. And it actually, the rate of death versus its rate of people that have actually contracted it is the same as most other flus. It's nothing exceptional.
3% death rate, even
It's
with the number out of China. Yeah, and
But
the flu
it's,
death rate is 0.1%, so it's a factor of 20 times greater.
It's actually going to do what was that novel that it's come from?
Oh, the Dean Koontz one, or what it is, from
Yeah,
1980. But that they probably had a bioweapon lab there for so long. It's probably a coincidence, a synchronicity coincidence type thing. Because when you're writing, it's like, well, there's a chem lab there. Oh, I can make a thing. Blah blah blah. I mean, people are trying to push this whole coronavirus thing to make it look like The Stand by Stephen King. So there seems to be I can't wait till something else happens, because on my roundtable each week we're still talking about the bloody virus. It's like, yeah, and also with China, the Chinese government aren't really forthright. So you got to just look at the numbers on each side.
Well, the stats I was looking at, which sadly was from the World Health Organization, which is still politically owned. So it's
that's a bit UN-y.
Yeah,
so,
that was this morning. But yeah,
we've got that out of the way. So when are the jokes coming in
about the virus? I think we are the joke with the virus. I mean, it's hideous to see. But it's what I would say to anyone out there, if you're worried about it, if you're worried about contracting it, and look, frankly, contracting anything, any sort of disease or virus that's going to, and viruses are a different form of disease. They're a galaxy unto their own that lives within your living presence. So for any of those, the best thing you can do is preventative health. Just look after yourself. Wash your hands, as I was describing to Monty the other day, wash your hands for the duration of the happy birthday song. So you go, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Right, there you go.
And my response was,
get your fingertips in there.
My response to all that is like, so actually do normal things.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
Shower,
So,
wash your hands.
Don't be afraid.
Like,
yes. See, I have a little different perspective on coronavirus. It's good, even at 2.3% death rate, which is the low number, and the Lancet journal that was just peer reviewed puts it at 3.3% death rate, mortality rate. And with the existing numbers that are coming out of China and what's potentially at the logarithmic scale happens, you're looking at the end of June, 20 million people infected. And what's 20% of 20 million people? That's the amount of deaths that you're going to have. I mean, that's the thing, that the reason the death rate is so high is because there are not enough ICU beds. Yes, so many people are already health challenged, and they get pneumonia and have to go into ICU right away. And then that's 4 to 5 nursing staff per day more that ICU bed needs. And then you burn out your nursing staff, and your nursing staff gets exposed to coronavirus, which is why everything broke down in Wuhan in the first place.
That's actually what's happening in Australia. That's just happened. We've had that happen in a nursing home.
Right, it's happening everywhere. Just the other day, 4 elderly people died in one nursing home in Washington State. In Iran, they're having a hell of a time there because they have their regular Friday prayers, where they pack 300 people in a tiny little space to prayer 5 times a day. So, even Iran's deputy health minister, their chief health minister, died of coronavirus 3 days ago. So it is going to be a cultural thing. It'll always be stronger than a flu, because it's going to create the pneumonia base. And pneumonia is curable. Okay? Pneumonia is very curable.
It's not just the pneumonia, it's what that pneumonia does. This particular type of viral pneumonia is actually eating away at the tissue of the lung. Correct. And that's actually how they've developed the earlier detection of it when people have contracted it.
CT scan to see where it is, and then they can drain it, And there's all sorts of things, pneumonia-based cures that they can use for it. The things that doctors were overwhelmed with the amount of people that were getting sick.
Yeah.
And you have people could be asymptomatic for 30 days, still be a spreader. And then there's cytokine storms where people afterwards, after they get cured, and the amount of antigens go down, and then the virus comes back and attacks the antigens and then die of a heart attack. Because the virus goes right to the heart. So you're talking like a reinfection rate of like 12, 15%, with the reinfection death rate's like 28%, which is just crazy that the reinfection death rate's higher.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, because that's not being spoken of. That's not being, with all of the fear mongering in the media, they aren't talking about the reinfection rate and the high rate of reinfection due to the weakened immune system. So it's actually, that's something that really has to be addressed now that we're reaching figures where it is actually the exponential development of this is we have to look at that.
Yeah.
So it's,
the current estimate is it has a 6.6 R0 ratio or rating. And just so as a scale, like the standard flu has a 0.1, 0.2%. So it's very difficult, something under 1. Now, the most infectious one, measles, has a 15. That means for every one person that's infected, it can infect 15, and those people infect 15, and those people infect 15. At 6.7, the draconian measures that China is doing, locking everyone down, is lowering it to about a 1.5 R0 ratio, meaning it's not being spread in subway tunnels, taxis, real estate agents, police officers. And then the other big thing China is doing is burning all the physical dollar bills there, burning the money.
That makes sense.
Because the money was a huge transit, even the coins. They got to get rid of all of that. It was a huge infection master for them. And is that going to happen here in the major worlds? Well, now the next landslide study is coming out that Asian people might be far more susceptible to this sickness than Caucasians or Middle Eastern or Middle West, different Caucasian groups.
It raises it, doesn't it? Because you're seeing that in South Korea. You're seeing that in, I think Malaysia is another one that's really taking. Yeah. So that is a big question.
Italy is going through the roof now.
It is.
Okay.
And doesn't seem to be slowing even with their lockdown.
But they're not locked down, really. They're doing a faux lockdown. They're telling people, they're not putting police officers in front of doors saying don't come out. And they just had Ash Wednesday there. But in all reality, it has probably been growing in the Italian communities for a month and a half, 2 months, if not 3. Because now what they're discovering, it's a lot of the Italian tourists who were on the cruise liners that created the infections. And it was the Italian tourists who toured Egypt with a whole bunch of the Chinese people during the Lunar New Year that spread it everywhere. Because the Italians and the Chinese, they share a lot of their same seasons, apple seasons.
I actually shared on Twitter where the World Health Organization said that people should limit contact and stay in their homes and don't go out in public places. And then introverts, I've been preparing for this all my life. So viva la hermits.
So a hermits club.
Yeah, do you know how hard it is to have a hermit meeting? You coming? No. Oh.
It could be online. That's about it.
Yeah, but even then, it's kind of hard.
Wonderful gentlemen and fabulous crew. And now, friend, I'm going to have to go.
Yes.
Okay.
We've been going for a while.
Yes. Why don't you give everyone a way to get a hold of you if they'd like to talk to you about what it is that you do?
The website to find myself and what we do around the world is qbihealing.com. My name's Melissa Hocking Hughes. You can Google that, and I look like this. Is it's kind of brush today. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, it's March, so I didn't really brush my hair or anything today. But you can find books and all the good stuff. Find out where we'll be, and have a look at what we do. Yes, what we do works on viruses. So you can imagine at the moment we're pretty inundated. We're actually setting up stuff. Oh, thanks so much. So thanks from the studio, but. No, Melissa Hocking Hughes, but okay.
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
Yeah.
related to Stephen.
It could be. It could be the accent. I'm not sure.
It could be. Could be. But yeah, if you want to check out and find us, that's great. But I'd love to drop back in again and let's play again.
Absolutely, I'd love to. And Monty, why don't you give a way for people to get a hold of you and find out where your podcast is at?
I'm on, if you want to interact, I'm on Twitter as Real Monty Dean, as well as YouTube, just Monty Dean, and on Anchor FN as the Monty Dean Show, which is on 7 different like Google podcasts, and waiting for Apple. But yeah, the Monty Dean Show is the main podcast, and Revolution Radio is on Wednesday mornings at 2 a.m. So yeah, not many people turn up for that from the United States anyway. So.
And soon they will join you for the octagon, not the round table.
Yes, yeah, we're going through the different shapes.
Yes. Square, octagon, triangle, round, all that.
I can't wait for the rhombus.
Yes, the rhombus, the polyhedron table.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been a special show. We will be back next Thursday with another adventure into reality. All right, Robert, take us away.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.